Question number 5, James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Is he committed to all his government's policies?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Is he committed to cutting New Zealand's domestic greenhouse gas emissions despite US President-elect Donald Trump's stated commitment to withdraw from the Paris Agreement and invest heavily in coal?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, and I think that's one of the things that the government has been saying for a long period of time, which is that we've got a plan when it comes to climate change. I think we've been very consistent about implementing that plan. I think it's consistent with best practice in the world, accepting that the government has always said that it wants to be a fast follower, not a leader. But we are committed to the commitments we made in Paris, and we don't have any intention of changing them.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Would he be prepared to re-evaluate his position of New Zealand as a fast follower on climate change, given the calls for greater leadership at the Marrakesh Climate Conference, which wraps up on Friday?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, the ministers there, so Paula Bennett is representing the government. I don't think there's a need for New Zealand to change what it's doing. I think in areas where we really can be a leader, which I think has always been agricultural emissions and the scientific work, we really are doing good work there. I think in terms of our emissions trading scheme, as I've so often said, others may claim to have one, but very few seem to have one that's across most sectors and operating pretty well. The government's on track to be 90% renewable from an energy perspective by 2025. You know, I think by most measures we've been quite consistent in our view when it comes to climate change. And some countries, if you think about over the last 8 years, have made both soaring comments in both directions. I think we've plotted a middle path and probably proven to be about right.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Would he be prepared to join Ban Ki-moon and Francois Hollande and call on Mr Trump to drop his campaign pledge to cancel the Paris Climate Agreement?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I think a better way to phrase that would be having had a conversation with President-elect this morning, we expressed an interest at an appropriate point after he's sworn in to have a more broad discussion about a range of issues, including trade, and climate change would be one of those. I personally hope that the United States would actually honour the commitments that were made at Paris, because if you look, as I've argued so often to this House, the issue of climate change is a global issue, but we really need those huge emitters to be part of the solution, and that includes the United States, China and of course India. And the genesis of the work that President Obama did, that he took to Paris, was really a bipartisan agreement reached with Xi Jinping from China. And so the risk, of course, is that if the United States are not actively engaged, other big emitters might not be as well. And I think given the very strong scientific evidence about the rate of global warming that's taking place, that would be very dangerous, I think, for the planet and for countries. So we'll certainly be raising the issue of climate change along with a number of others when we talk to the President-elect and when he becomes President of the United States.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Given the probable loss of US leadership on climate change, will New Zealand demonstrate greater leadership by, for example, ending deep-sea oil exploration in our oceans?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, no. And I think the reason for that is that, as we've often said, there's no question the world is going to move towards less fossil fuels and more efficiency over time. But I genuinely believe that if New Zealand stopped drilling for deep-sea oil, or for oil in general, then that oil would just be found from another source supplied by another country. I don't think it would actually achieve anything.